United States is in the middle of a colossal health crisis. Diseases like obesity, diabetes, and eating disorders have skyrocketed over the past few decades. As our lives transition more and more digital, new threats to health have emerged. Instant food delivery, viral food trends, you name it. But there is really one trend I want to focus on this video: how the American food diet has created the American health epidemic. Let me start by saying that this video isn't meant to make fun of anyone or a certain group of people. What I want to dive into this video is tackling how our food choices as a society have created a serious health crisis. So how did we get here? Well, in large part, I think it is the American obsession with frozen, ultra-processed foods. In other countries, there's nowhere near as much interest in frozen foods like here in the United States. And I mean, it's no secret that almost all frozen foods contain harmful ingredients and unnatural properties. It's one of the reasons that makes these foods so cheap and able to last so long. The important thing to know about frozen foods is that since it contains so many of these lab-made ingredients, it becomes more difficult for your body to naturally process them and digest the food. This leads to fat and clogged arteries and a whole bunch of other issues. One super popular food that Americans are obsessed over is frozen pizzas. And I'll admit, I eat frozen pizzas on occasion. You can basically buy one for around $5 and they don't taste bad. They taste pretty solid for $5. It's a super easy, convenient way to eat a meal. But of course, this convenience comes at a price. I think another major problem is that since this food comes with such a big convenience, many families are completely substituting normal homemade meals for dozens of boxes of frozen pizzas, as we'll see in this viral video.
So we got groceries from Sam's Club, Walmart, and Food Lion today. And I'm not going to separate it, I'll just tell you the individual totals at the end. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4 big boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So this is like the 2 bags in 1 boxes because Brantley and Bryson both eat this and this is going to last us for 2 weeks. So we got a big box of popcorn, some paper plates, some sugar, a big thing of paper towels, some muffins. We got 3 of these Sunny Delights. One's already been put up in the fridge. We got some 2-bite brownies. These will be gone in like a couple days. Everyone at this house likes them besides me. Cream cheese, a 36 pack of Hershey bars. These will come in good for our movie nights. 2 bags of chicken nuggets, 2 bags of the red Doritos, 1 bag of the blue Doritos, and 1 bag of the purple Doritos. We got the 2 packs of pepperonis. We got 37 of these pizzas. These are the pepperoni pizzas that Braden, that's all he eats pretty much. We got all they had. We got some mozzarella sticks. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 Dr. Peppers.
Well, that was one good way to spend over $600 on groceries. And look, that lady got tons of negative comments, many actually concerned and worried about her and her family's health. This is the type of video that I think speaks volumes to what we're seeing right now in our society. What you saw in that video is basically an entire snapshot of what many American families are purchasing for groceries. This completely candid video, it illustrates everything that is wrong with the American food industry. Hundreds of dollars being spent on pre-packaged, ultra-processed foods. And look, we're all players in the system, whether we like it or not. Every time you go out to a restaurant, there's a really big chance that those foods that you're actually eating are too ultra-processed foods. If you drink bottled drinks, yep, it's pretty much ultra-processed as well. But what becomes a problem is the absolute overabundance and basically reliance on these frozen foods to replace normal meals. First off, all those pizzas, right? I'm no health expert, but eating a frozen pizza a day probably isn't the best thing to do. And look, every family, they probably have their own reasons to purchase this many pizzas. But the point still remains. The fact that so many Americans are relying on frozen foods is a huge public health risk. Now, all these cereals they bought, Fruit Loops, Fruity Pebbles, etc., yeah, they probably aren't that good for you because they're basically like candy or pastry. Matter of fact, I believe in Europe they would classify this as like a candy. The problem comes when this is fully replacing breakfast food. The entire relationship of food has completely changed over the past few decades. Back then, when you walked into a grocery store, you would pretty much pick up all your essentials and then you would be ready to cook whatever meal you'd like at home. People did that pretty often. For the most part, it was pretty healthy foods. Nowadays, people are chasing popular brands to fill their shopping carts. And yeah, a lot of those foods taste good. They're kind of addicting. Doritos, I think, are good. Little Debbie's are pretty solid, but it's all basically junk food. But nowadays, so many people are putting it on a list and basically classifying it as their food essentials. The United States' appetite for frozen foods has hit an all-time high. According to research, the global frozen food market was valued over $500 billion in 2024, and it's projected to reach more than $700 billion by 2030, with North America, you guessed it, leading the world with frozen food consumption. In the US alone, frozen foods dominate both grocery stores and restaurants, with food service accounting for over 70% of frozen food usage. Frozen food is fast, simple, and it has pretty high margins compared to pretty much every other food. When an entire food system is built around speed, shelf life, and scale, health becomes an afterthought for basically all these companies. And that's how you don't just create unhealthy individuals, you create a national health epidemic.
So we got a big box of the oatmeal cream pies. We got 2 of the Tostitos scoops, 2 things of red Doritos, 2 bags of Sun Chips, got the 3-pack of the cheese dip. We got Bryson 3 of these subs. We got a big box of popcorn. We got some muffins. We got 2 bags of fries, some chocolate donuts, and some white powder donuts. 35 of these pizzas. Got a thing of Fruity Pebbles. And then we got 2 boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, 2 packs of the 2-bite brownies. Okay, so at Sam's Club we spent $224.93. At Walmart we spent $195.06. And Food Lion we spent $194.89. And then the grand total today is $614.88.
In total, frozen foods have higher margins and higher upside for food companies. On a balanced sheet, it's a no-brainer for companies to shift their focus to frozen foods. Grocery stores may also prefer extra frozen food aisles. Again, those frozen foods will bring higher margins for the grocery store. When you look at category level margins, the difference between fresh and frozen foods becomes clear. Fresh foods like produce, dairy, and meat, they typically operate on gross margins in the 10 to 25% range. Fresh food margins can sometimes fall in the single digits. Frozen food, on the other hand, has gross margins that are closer to 30 to 45%, sometimes higher for branded frozen food meals and desserts. On paper, frozen food is a lot more predictable, more scalable, and more profitable, which explains why companies are aggressively expanding frozen food offerings, and why grocery stores keep allocating more space for freezers and frozen food aisles instead of fresh food aisles, because those fresh food aisles, it's a big risk for grocery stores. Now, frozen food also brings another huge benefit for American consumers, and that is cost. Buying TV dinners in comparison to real dinner is much more cheaper on average. I know some people out there might have good ways to make cheap, fresh dinners for an entire family, but a lot of people don't have that knowledge, nor do they have the time to learn how to do that, which is a whole issue in itself, which we'll talk about later in the video. Buying $5 pizzas is way cheaper than making a fresh pasta dinner. And with the price of groceries increasing rapidly over the past 6 years, people realize that fresh food is more expensive. On top of that, it's riskier in the sense that fresh food spoils way faster. So a lot of people feel like they're throwing away a lot of their fresh food away. Like we talked about, frozen food can last a really long time in the freezer. According to US food price data, the cost of food at home, basically groceries, has climbed around 28% since 2020. And if you look at other categories like meats, produce, that margin has actually increased even more. This is a huge price increase in an economy where wages really have not increased much, if at all. Rent, insurance, services, everything has gone up. And for many Americans out there, something has to give. And unfortunately, that something is replacing more expensive healthy foods and dinners for cheaper frozen foods and meals. And if you look at younger generations like Gen Z, well, Gen Z is obsessed with frozen food because, well, a large portion of them do not really know how to cook. This is something that we've talked about in one of our previous videos. The ease and the convenience of frozen food has exploded even more due to the introduction of food delivery like Instacart, Uber, and DoorDash. This has now created a whole new problem for societal health. Now, you've probably heard the term of food deserts, but have you heard of digital food deserts? It takes a new spin here, but it's the same concept. When people order food delivery, they may notice a lack of healthy food options in their area. If they're already in a lower income area or like a rural area, they're not really going to have too many healthy options. As a result, they'll probably get unhealthy fast food delivered to their door because there's really no healthy food options out there. And on top of that, if there's not too many grocery stores in the area, they might be even more incentivized to order frozen foods from places like Dollar General, CVS, or 7-Eleven. Places that don't really carry fresh foods, but they're available on like DoorDash. I remember when I was doing food delivery a few years ago, most of the time when I got a grocery order, people were just ordering a bunch of frozen dinners, frozen pizzas, ice cream, chicken nuggets, you name it. It was basically all frozen. And I don't blame them, right? Ordering fresh produce on a DoorDash or something like that is a little sus, to say the least.
What's up, TikTok man? This is what an Instacart run looked like for me. Tell me who orders this stuff online to get delivered. Look at all this. Look at all these TV dinners, just all this crazy, just all frozen food. Where y'all think this going? Do y'all think a homeless shelter ordered this? Or do y'all think this going to a big family that just like frozen TV dinner? Or y'all think this is an elderly couple or something? Because you know how the elderlies, they like the frozen stuff. This is crazy. This is what Instacart looks for me.
Look, nothing horribly wrong with frozen food, but when you're buying dozens of frozen pizzas, yeah, there's probably a problem. Studies show that younger adults are significantly less likely to cook at home compared to previous generations. And Americans now spend over half of their food budget on food that's prepared outside of the home. This includes everything that is delivery, ready-to-eat meals, frozen foods, all of that. At the same time, dollar stores have become the fastest growing food retailers in the entire US, with tens of thousands of locations. They've often replaced full grocery stores in lower income areas. These stores, they overwhelmingly stock frozen foods because, well, fresh food is pretty expensive and it presents a risk to the business. On top of that, delivery apps have prioritized speed, availability, and partnerships, not really anything about nutrition, which means healthier options are often buried or non-existent in certain zip codes. The result here is a feedback loop. Fewer cooking skills, fewer fresh food options, more reliance on frozen and processed meals, and ultimately, worse health outcomes. This isn't just about personal choice. It's about how modern food systems, retail, technology, they have quietly shaped what an entire generation eats every single day. The expansion of dollar stores across the country doesn't just promote access to frozen and ultra-processed foods, it exposes the deeper problems of food deserts in many American cities and American counties. Many people in the US, especially those living in suburbs or urban areas with good infrastructure, take all that for granted on just how easy it is to get to a full grocery store. But there's a big portion of the country where that simply isn't the case. In many communities, the nearest grocery store can be 5 to 10 miles away. On top of that, families may not even have reliable transportation. Some households may only have one car, while others might not have a car at all. That reality forces people to rely on convenience stores or dollar stores like Family Dollar. That reality, it forces many people to rely on convenience stores like CVS or 7-Eleven or dollar stores like Family Dollar or Dollar General. Those places aren't going to stock fresh produce, quality proteins, or real meal ingredients. They're just going to stock frozen, pre-packaged foods. That's how their business model operates. And this is where the entire system quietly locks people in. Dollar stores have aggressively expanded into areas where traditional grocery stores have closed because their business model is cheaper to operate and far more profitable per square foot. But that model, it doesn't support fresh food. Fresh produce spoils and requires refrigeration. It cuts into the margins of these dollar stores. Frozen and prepackaged foods, on the other hand, they're good for those margins. As a result, entire neighborhoods, they could end up surrounded by food retailers that sell calories, but not really nutrition. Over time, this has completely reshaped eating habits, especially for families and kids growing up in these areas. When the most accessible food options are frozen meals, sugary cereals, and snacks, those food stops, dollar stores, convenience stores, gas stations, they basically become staples in the town because they're the only places where you can really buy food. And that's one of the reasons why food deserts don't just limit choice, they actively contribute to long-term health problems at a community and national level. And the consequences really start to show up on the national level. As frozen and ultra-processed foods have become a bigger part of the American diet, rates of obesity, overweight adults, and other diseases like type 2 diabetes have risen alongside them. Today, roughly 69% of US adults are overweight or obese, and these conditions aren't limited to older generations anymore. Another major reason for this isn't just what we eat, it's how much we end up eating. According to federal data here, right? About 55% of the calories Americans consume, they come from ultra-processed foods. And for kids, that number is even higher. It's nearly around 62% of their entire daily calories. There's real evidence showing how these foods affect our bodies differently. In a randomized study where people were fed ultra-processed meals versus minimally processed meals with the same calories, same nutrients, same everything, those eating the ultra-processed diet automatically consumed 500 calories per day and gained weight, while people on the unprocessed diet lost weight. This kind of tells you something pretty powerful. It's not just that ultra-processed food is convenient, it changes how people eat. It basically makes it to where people want to eat more and more. It completely puts your appetite off balance. Frozen and ultra-processed items are engineered to basically be addicting. They're loaded with added sugars, refined carbs, unhealthy fats, you name it. All that stuff, it's probably in there. It's low in fiber and real nutrients, which are the key signals that tells your body that you're full. Since your body is kind of out of whack, I suppose your brain kind of tells you that you're not full yet. So you continue eating more and more calories because the ultra-processed foods, they just put everything out of whack. Ultra-processed diets, they can kind of mess with your regulation hormones, the hormones in your body that basically tell you that you're full. So when you eat that entire bag of Doritos, there's basically some science going on there that your body is like, okay, I'm not full yet, let me eat more, and more, because the Doritos, they're really not going to have much nutrition in them. Same thing goes with all these frozen foods, frozen pizzas, nuggets, the family dinners, all that. So with a huge portion of the population's bodies being all confused and out of whack, not knowing when to stop eating, this is being reflected in the climbing rates of obesity, diabetes, and other chronic health problems across the country. Now, with this huge health crisis being talked about, everyone knows about it, it's not a secret anymore. These medications, these pills, these injectable treatments that help reduce appetite, slow digestion, and assist people in losing significant amount of weight, they've been around for a while, right? You have some experts out there that are saying the mass adoption of weight loss pills is a technological leap as big as the smartphone. You have trials out there that basically say that when people take these medications, they lose around 15 to 20% of their body weight or more, far higher than any diet or exercise alone. And it's a huge breakthrough for people struggling with obesity or any other diseases. But here's the catch. There's always a catch, right? This is where the Band-Aid analogy really comes to play. These medications, they're powerful, but they don't fix the underlying food environment that got us here in the first place. It's our food system, our culture, our ultra-processed diets, the way that millions of Americans eat every single day. If people stopped taking those medications, many would regain the weight unless they also change their eating habits and lifestyle. These pills, they work and they're going to help a lot of people out there, but they're not really solving the root of the problem. Problem being how the nation continues to eat ultra-processed foods. It's like putting a patch on a leaky roof. You might stop the water from dripping for a while, but until you finally fix the roof, the problem is still going to be there. And personally, I don't think it's a good idea to be fully reliant on a pharma industry that has a history of a lot of shady practices. But that's just me. Like almost every other topic that we've talked about on this channel, it's all connected. As American society becomes more unhealthy, the cost of health insurance goes up for everyone. When you have more people dealing with obesity, diabetes, or any other chronic health conditions, that means more doctor visits, more prescriptions, more procedures, more everything. And all that demand just doesn't disappear. It gets passed down the line. Ultimately, it shows up in the price that you and I pay every single month for health insurance. Now, in this video, I wanted to zoom in on one of the many causes for the American health epidemic, frozen food. Now, it isn't the only reason, nowhere close, right? But instead of focusing on government trying to make milk cool again, or how we just all need to exercise more every day and we'll be super fit, I wanted to present a more clear and easier solution that our society can take on today, now. Simply put, don't be too reliant on eating frozen foods. That's the message. There's no reason to buy 30-something boxes of frozen pizza. And I'm also not going to go on and be a health nut here and tell everyone don't ever eat anything frozen, don't ever eat anything ultra-processed, only eat fresh, non-GMO, grass-fed, or whatever marketing lingo expensive food companies throw in on packaging. Here's my simple message. One small solution is to reduce your frozen food consumption. And if we do this as a society, we'll take a few steps closer to becoming healthier and less dependent on greedy food giants. Well guys, let me know what you think about the American health epidemic in the comment section below. What's your opinion on that lady buying all those pizzas? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out, and most importantly, it shines a spotlight on issues like this. And like always, we'll be back with another video. Stay informed out there.